Now see, we understood about the product and the product mix. Now let's understand about the price and the place. Okay, now when it comes to price, basically when we are talking about this particular product, like when I'm talking about any kind of particular product, so pricing would be a factor wherein I will determine how the price has to be determined. So when I'm talking about price mix, that would be a process wherein I'll determine what is the price of the product. Okay, so it represents the value that consumers exchange for benefits of having or using the product. So whatever is the sum of values which they perceive they would have after getting that product, that would be the price of the product as such. Okay, now remember, this is often used as a regulator of demand of a product. What does that mean? Let's say if tomorrow I feel my inventory is piling up, okay, I'm a AC manufacturer, I'm an air conditioner manufacturer, and my demand is piling up. So my inventory is piling up and I realize that the demand is going down, inventory is going up. Okay, so at that time I would come up with a scheme wherein I would reduce the prices, I would provide discounts to my customers so that the inventory can be cleared and the demand can be increased because of that reason. Okay, now remember, it is an effective competition weapon. For example, if you want to capture mass market, okay, then you always go in for a very low price compared to the competitors. In case if you want to charge a premium, want to show that your product has a certain value which the competitor's product doesn't have, then you charge a premium price. Now, in the conditions of perfect competition, most of the firms compete with each other on the basis of this factor. So wherever there is perfect competition in the market, then in that scenario it is only the price based on which the competition happens between the different competitors or different businesses. Now, what are the important components of a price mix? First, the range of price which you are setting up for your price. So that becomes important because you want to see, will the consumers have the ability or will they be willing to accept that price or not. So you need to decide the price range. Now see, you would have seen when it comes to biscuits, you go to the market and let's say there would be certain biscuit which you get in a 10 rupee packet. Okay, then what happens, from that 10 rupees the size of the package keeps on increasing and the price increasing. Okay, so that's the price range for that particular goods which we are talking about. Similarly, if I talk about, let's say, cashew nuts, so based on the different qualities there is a price range which the manufacturer would charge. Like, okay, the grade A cashew nuts would be charged at X rupees, grade B at Y rupees. So that's the price range which we are talking about. So remember, that price range is important because the customer is going to accept that or not would be a important decision which the firm has to take. Now, what is the profit margin? Obviously, the most important thing, if the cost of making the product is 100 rupees and if I am willing to earn only 10 rupees per product, then I can keep a price of 110. Okay, assuming that 100 cost of product, that when I'm saying 100 includes everything, even my distribution cost. Now suppose I want to earn 50 on that, so I'll have to charge 150. So that would be the profit margin out here. So what is the profit margin of the company and how much the company is willing to go down in terms of its profit margin would decide the price of the product. What are the discounts to be offered? So whenever you're having a lesser demand, or whenever there is a crisis, or let's say whenever you want to offer certain discounts, so price mix will help you to understand if the discount has to be offered, how much would be the effect in case if that happens on the price of the product. Okay, what are the credit terms? That is how much you're willing to give the credit to the buyer. So how many days you're going to be waiting for the person to pay you back, that is the person who has bought from you. Now, what are the pricing strategies and policies? I gave you one particular example, like if you want to capture the mass market, then you always follow a low price strategy. So what kind of price strategy you want to follow? In basis of that, the price mix can be determined. So these are the important components of price mix. Now let's understand the factors which affect the determination of price. See, the product cost is nothing but your fixed cost, variable cost plus semi-variable cost. Now what is fixed cost? See, there would be a fixed cost which would every company would have to pay. What is that? For example, we have rent. So if I'm having a manufacturing plant and let's say I have leased that property, I'll have to pay the rent on a monthly basis. Similarly, for offices also I'll have to pay the rent. So that would be a fixed cost. No matter my manufacturing is happening or not, I'll have to incur those costs. So that is the fixed cost. Now variable cost is something only when the production starts. So if you're producing, you are incurring that variable cost. Okay, so that's the variable cost. Now semi-variable cost is something which will have the characteristics of fixed and variable cost. So it would be constant till up some time. So you'll have to keep on paying that for certain level, and post that what would happen? It will become variable in nature. Okay, so I gave you an example for fixed cost. A rent would be an example, right? Now if you have anybody on daily wages, so you would call that contractor or worker only when you're doing the production. So that would become an example of variable cost, right? So these are the few costs which will help you in determining the price of the product. So remember, what is product cost? As of now, fixed cost plus variable cost plus semi-variable cost. Now utility and demand. If the utility of the product is very high, you charge higher price for that. The best example to remember here is any kind of medicines, medical equipments, right? So because the utility is very high, so they always carry a higher price. Now the extent of competition in the market. In case if I don't have any competition, then I have the monopolistic market, so I will have the advantage of charging a higher price. This obviously happens in situations where you are one of the first company to launch the product which the world has not seen. Let's say tomorrow the world haven't seen electrical kettle, a hypothetical example. So when the person who first manufactured it bought it into the market, he had the ability and he had the capability to charge a premium because there was not much competition. Okay, then comes the government regulations. Okay, so the government and the regulations which are prevalent in your industry, in your market, will affect the price determination. How? Because I gave you an example, medical equipments. The government have the policies wherein they will ensure that high prices are not charged in monopolistic conditions. So they set out those regulations, and because of those regulations you cannot charge a high price. So even that determines your price. What are the objectives? You want to maximize sales, which I told you already. If you want to reach the mass audience, the mass customers, then you want to maximize the sales. So then you need to charge low price. If you want to keep your product for premium customers, then you can charge higher price. Now if you want to attain, as I just told you, product quality leadership, that is the quality of the product is very superior compared to your competitors. Okay, then higher prices are charged to customers to cover the high quality and high cost of research and development. So sometimes you would have seen, let's take an example, you have a kind of box, a jewelry box which is being sold by you. Now there are numerous people or business houses who sell jewelry box, but then the quality of your jewelry box is much better. Okay, it has utility and it has a very artistic look. So based on that you can cover, because you would be incurring cost to cover that high quality, okay, and the cost of R&D, because the design of the jewelry box has to be such that it can be maintained even after rough use. Okay, then it has to have that artistic look, so someone has to do the research how to do that. So in that scenario, the product quality has been maintained by the business house and hence it will charge a premium price. Now let's come to place or physical distribution. What is that? This is the fourth important element in the marketing mix. Okay, it is making or ensuring that the goods and services reached at the right place so people can purchase. Now let's say if you go to departmental store and you want to buy, let's talk about Vim washing bar. Okay, so you would be aware about what is that. Now if I don't get it, what would happen? See, nothing would happen to me as such, because I can go and buy the competitor's bar, right? So if there is a shortage of stock, or if it's not available, I will forget that company and maybe I'll have to buy from another company. Hence it becomes very necessary for a company that the goods and services are available at the right place so people can purchase those goods when they need it. Now, what are the two important decisions regarding physical distribution? First, what would be your channel of distribution? Second, the physical movement of goods from one place to another. Now, channel of distribution, in the earlier videos we discussed that they are set of firms and individuals that take the title or assist in transferring the title of particular goods or services as it moves from producers to consumers. So basically your wholesalers, retailers, merchants who buy from you and then they sell to the ultimate consumers, these would be the people who would be part of the channel distributions, that is channel of distribution. Now what happens here is that you have to decide how the movement is going to be and what would be your channel of distributions in that scenario. Now as I just told you, the team of merchant, agents, business institutions, they all come under channels of distribution. Now remember, channels would bring economy of effort. Why? Because you sell them in bulk, right? And then they will reach to the ultimate consumers who buy in small. Now imagine a situation where if I have manufacturing powder, let's say a washing powder in somewhere in Delhi. Now I have to distribute it in down south. Now for me as an individual, manufacturing it and then going and distributing would be very cumbersome and very costly. If I get a person who can go and sell the product, that is he would buy from me and sell the product in south where the demand is there for the washing powder, in that scenario there would be economy of efforts. Okay. Now apart from that, remember the middlemen will help to cover large geographical areas. As I explained you, if you are manufacturing in Delhi, you can reach in down south, you can reach in northeast because of these intermediaries. So they bring efficiency in distribution, including your transportation, storage and negotiation. So they help you in getting the goods transferred to the ultimate consumers. Okay, so they help also buy from you in bulk and store the goods so that the consumers demand can be met as and when required, and then they also helps in negotiation the price with the consumer. Now let's understand what are the functions of channels of distribution. First is sorting. So what happens, these agents, these intermediaries, now we are going to call them intermediaries. So these intermediaries will buy the goods from different sources. Let's say a person is an intermediary selling toothpaste, so he will sort in homogeneous groups. What would he do? He is selling toothbrushes, he is selling toothpaste. It's a general grocery store kind of things which he keeps, okay, as an intermediary. So first he will order the toothpaste from various companies which are there in the market and he will sort them in homogeneous goods. That is what he'll do. He will order the toothpastes, then he will order the toothbrushes, then if he is also selling soaps, he will order those soaps, then he will sort them in homogeneous groups. So one group would be of toothpaste, one group would be of toothbrush, one other group would be of the soaps. Then he will accumulate the homogeneous stocks. So he will keep a certain quantity of paste with him. So let's say if he feels that the demand of, let's say, Patanjali toothpaste is very high in the market, so he will stock more of those toothpaste compared to some other toothpaste of some other company. Now, so the next is allocation, that is he will break the homogeneous stocks which he has accumulated into marketable lots. So when the retailers, let's say the intermediaries have different levels. So let's say we started from wholesalers, now he is selling to some other intermediary, that is retailer for example, then he would not be selling the entire stock in one go. So he'll have to stock them in marketable lots and then proceed further, that is the wholesaler will pass it on to the retailer. Okay, then he will do the assorting. For example, cricket kit. Now suppose the demand is for a cricket kit, so he will have to assort the goods, okay, wherein he will combine the ball, the bat, okay, when other the stumps, everything in a bag, and then make it a marketable product. Okay, now he would do the product promotion, that is done by display, demonstration or event. So whenever they have any kind of events, he will ask the consumers to come in, he will display the products out there, he will showcase the products out there, he will do a demo. So many a times whenever a consumer walks in, he'll do a demo, especially if it is a new product, how to use and what are the uses of that, and he'll also display it so that people can notice. Now, what is negotiation? See, negotiate the price, quality, guarantee and other related matters with customer so that the transfer of ownership is properly affected. So, what is that? That you are negotiating with the customer about the price, the guarantee which is offered, what is the quality, so that the transfer can be done in an effective manner. Then comes the risk taking. Now see, intermediaries are the people who take the risk in for you. Why? Because they would buy the product from you, so there is a price risk. Okay, then there would be demand fluctuations. Let's say I bought Patanjali toothpaste on the premise that the demand is very high, customers are going to buy it. Now suppose because there is a demand fluctuation and people again start shifting to some other toothpaste. So what would happen? There is a demand fluctuation, so I am at the risk as an intermediary wherein my stock is just piling up or is just lying out there, and it might lead to spoilage or it might lead to destruction. Let's now move further. Let's understand what are the types of distribution, that is what are the types of channels of distribution. The first is the direct channel. So the manufacturer goes and sells to the customer. This would be like your vegetable vendor. Okay, suppose you would have seen, I'm not talking about the regular vegetable vendors. Many times you would have seen that a person who is a farmer who comes directly in your area and sells the vegetables which he has. So that's a kind of direct channel. So these are very cheap because there are not much channels of distribution, rather there is no channel of distribution involved between them. Or let's say if someone is producing a washing powder at home and then selling it to the customers directly, so that's again an example of direct channel. If you want to see in real life, Nirma was started like that. So the owner used to actually manufacture the powder and sell it on by way of door-to-door selling. Same was with Lijjat Papad. Initially it was more of a direct selling which was happening out there. Then comes your indirect channel. Okay, so indirect channel has different levels. First one is the one level channel. So here we have the manufacturer who directly passes the good to retailer, and then the retailer sells to the ultimate customer. Okay, in two level channel, the wholesaler will come into in between. Now let's take this example, Big Bazaar. So when Big Bazaar is buying, he's a big retailer, so he would be directly purchasing from manufacturer, let's say Amul butter. So he would go to Amul and directly make a purchase and then sell to customer. So that would be a one level channel. When I am talking about two level channel, a grocery shop in your locality. So he would have a wholesaler from whom he would be buying the Amul butter. He won't have any reach to the manufacturer directly. So that would be a two level channel. Okay. Now sometimes there is a three level channel wherein the manufacturer has an agent, and that agent would be supplying the goods to the wholesaler. The wholesaler then supplies to retailer, and then it goes to the customer. One of the longest route or one of the largest channel of distribution. Now, what are the factors which determine the channel of distributions? See, first we have the product related factors. Okay, first what is the nature of the product? Let's say if you are selling something which is perishable in nature, so then you will prefer having a shorter channel of distribution. Okay, sometimes when we are talking about bulky goods, okay, so in that scenario also the channel of distribution would vary. For example, if I am saying about a big machinery, now obviously the customers are limited. so then your channel of distribution would also be smaller. But if I'm talking about cars, if I'm talking about something which have lot many customers, so based on the nature of the product, the channel of distribution vary. When you have large number of customers, like I gave you an example of cars, then the channel of distribution can be high. Okay. Now perishability, I already explained you. If there is very high perishability, then it has to reach the customer on a very urgent basis, so the channel of distribution is quite low in that scenario. What is the unit value of product? So if it is high, then you can afford those many channel of distributions. Okay, otherwise it will be a smaller one. Okay, what is the product itself? Okay, for example, if I'm selling washing powder, if I'm selling bars, right, the dishwash bars, if I'm selling all these consumer goods, then I can have a larger channel of distribution because I need to reach a wide population. Okay, but compared to that, if I'm selling jewelry, then obviously the channel of distribution would be small. What are the company related factors? What is the financial strength of the company? Now compare a local manufacturer with HUL. Obviously HUL can afford a larger channel of distribution. It can afford the cost of storage, maintaining the inventory. Okay, but then that would not be possible for local company. What is the degree of control? So if you want to exercise a lot of degree of control on the channel of distributions, then you would prefer having a shorter ones. What are the competitive factors? What would be the policy of the firm? If it wishes to go with the competitors using the same channel, so then it doesn't matter if it is a long channel of distribution or a shorter one. If it is not, then it will have to form its own channel of distribution, which might be long or which might be a shorter one, depending on how it is able to reach the customers. What are the market factors? What is the size of the market? So as such, if the size of the market is quite huge, then your channel of distribution gets affected. Okay, how much is the quantity purchase? If the quantity generally purchased is bulk, then it will affect the channel of distribution. If it, I'm just talking about, like, let's say toothpaste, it is a unit product. You buy only one toothpaste at a time. You don't go and buy 100 toothpaste at a time. So in that scenario, the channel of, because you need to reach more and more customers, so the channel of distribution becomes larger. What is the geographical concentration? Like for example, I'm manufacturing equipments which are being in demand only by the textile industry, which is situated, let's say, only in Maharashtra. Then based on that, I only have to supply in one state. In case if that is not the case, the customers are spread across the geographies, then my channel of distribution gets affected accordingly. Environmental factors would be your environmental conditions, economic conditions, and legal constraint. For example, when there is depression, you don't really want to take the risk, okay, because the economy is not doing very well. So you prefer having shorter channels. Now, lastly, what are the physical distribution? Let's come to now physical distribution. See, goods are available to customers at the right place, in the right quantity, at the right time is the aim of the physical distribution. So it covers all the activities which require to move the goods from one place to another, that is from manufacturer to customer. Okay, the components here would be order processing, transportation, warehousing, and inventory control. So order processing is nothing but the order. Once you have the customer, you decide on the order which he requires to be executed. Okay, transportation, what would be the means of transportation, okay, how it would reach to the customer. Warehousing is storing the goods till the demand is there from the customer. See, you have to keep certain level of inventory, which is the fourth component. In case you need to, as a company, you need to decide how much inventory needs to be kept. Now remember, if you are having very high levels of inventory, then your warehousing cost will increase accordingly. And again, when you're warehousing, you need to keep in mind that there are chances of spoilage. Okay, so in that scenario, chances of loss are very high. Hence optimum inventory is very important. So these are the components of physical distribution.